My friends, listen carefully. Every one of us at some point in our lives has been underestimated. We've been told we are not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. Some people even wrote you off before your story had a chance to begin. But I am here to tell you today the greatest response to doubt is not anger, it is progress. The best revenge is not in destroying your enemies, it is in building yourself. I once knew a young man who worked as a cleaner in a school. Day after day, students mocked him because of his old shoes, his broken English, and his humble job. But instead of fighting back, he invested every small coin he had into night classes. Years later, he became a professor in that very same school. The same children who laughed at him now stood in his classroom taking notes from his wisdom. He never raised his voice in retaliation, but his life shouted louder than any insult could. His improvement became his victory. You see, pain has two choices. It can make you bitter, or it can make you better. Those who rise above insult and injustice do not do so by carrying hate, but by carrying vision. Progress is the most eloquent answer to opposition. History is full of ordinary people who refuse to remain ordinary. Think about it. The farmer's son who became a president, the poor student who became a scientist, the refugee who became a leader. None of them fought with weapons of revenge. They fought with weapons of discipline, perseverance, and self-belief. And because of that, they transformed not just their lives, but the lives of millions around them. My friends, hear me well. Do not waste your energy proving people wrong. Spend your energy becoming the best version of yourself. Because when you rise, when you succeed, when you improve, your life will speak for you. And even those who doubted, you will have no choice but to respect the story you have written. So today, let this truth echo in your heart. The best revenge is not to hurt them. The best revenge is to improve you. Lift your head, straighten your back. Keep moving forward, because the future does not belong to the bitter. It belongs to the better. And if you commit to growth, if you choose perseverance over petness, then nothing and no one can stop the destiny that awaits you. Remember this always, the best revenge is improvement, and your best is still yet to come. My friends, let me tell you something very important. Pain is a universal language. No matter where you come from, no matter your background, rich or poor, young or old, pain visits us all. You cannot escape it. You cannot run from it. But what you can do is choose what it does to you, because pain will never leave you the same. It will either make you bitter or it will make you better. Think about that for a moment. When life disappoints you, when people betray you, when you lose what you thought you could not live without, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to bitterness. It is the path where you carry anger, resentment, and regret like heavy luggage. Every step becomes harder. You see the world through the lens of what was done to you, and slowly your heart begins to harden, your hope begins to die. You are alive, but you are no longer truly living. That is the trap of bitterness. But there is another path, the path of growth, the path of better. This is when you take the same pain, the same loss, the same disappointment, and instead of letting it destroy you, you allow it to teach you, you allow it to stretch you, to build resilience, to give you wisdom you never had before. You begin to understand that pain is not always your enemy. It can be your greatest teacher. And when you choose this path, you come out stronger, wiser, and more equipped to face life with courage. I remember speaking to a woman who lost her job after 20 years of service. She was broken. She had given her best, sacrificed her health, her time, her family moments, and in return, she was dismissed without warning. For months, she carried bitterness. She blamed her boss, her company, even life itself. But then one day she realized something powerful. As long as she remained bitter, she was still chained to that moment of rejection. And so she chose differently. She enrolled in new courses, started her own small business, and within 3 years, she was more successful and more fulfilled than she had ever been in her old job. What changed? Not the pain. The pain was real, but her response changed. She chose better instead of bitter. You see, bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It eats you from the inside. But when you allow pain to make you better, it becomes fuel. It becomes the fire that refines you, like gold tested in flames. Without heat, gold never shines. Without pressure, coal never becomes a diamond. And without pain, potential never reaches its fullness. Some of you listening to me right now, you've been carrying bitterness for years. Someone hurt you, and instead of letting that pain grow you, you've let it hold you hostage. You replay the words, you relive the betrayal, you rehearse the injustice. And every time you do, the wound opens again. My friend, listen, you cannot heal while holding on to bitterness. Pain is supposed to pass through you, not live in you. I have seen ordinary people rise from unthinkable pain because they made a choice. I have seen fathers who lost everything build again from the ground up. I have seen mothers abandoned with children become the pillars of entire communities. I have seen young people who were told they would never make it turn their pain into the drive that propelled them to greatness. They did not allow their pain to make them bitter. They chose to be better. And let me remind you, life is not about what happens to you. It is about what happens in you. The storm may rage outside, but if you guard your heart, the storm cannot destroy you. Pain will come. It is inevitable. But bitterness is optional. Better is always possible. There is something in the human heart that rises up when we are wronged. When someone rejects us, when they betray us, when they look us in the eye and say we will never amount to anything, there is a natural desire to fight back, to get even, to prove them wrong by force. But hear me today, the best revenge is not anger. The best revenge is not retaliation. The best revenge is progress. When people insult you, they expect you to argue. When they mock you, they expect you to fight back. When they doubt you, they expect you to give up. But the moment you refuse to respond with anger and instead respond with excellence, something extraordinary happens. You disarm them without saying a word. You answer their insult by rising higher than they ever imagined you could. You answer their doubt by doing the very thing they said you could not do. That is the power of progress. I recall the story of a boy who was constantly ridiculed because he struggled to read. His classmates laughed, his teachers wrote him off, and even some family members said he would never go far. He could have carried anger. He could have allowed that rejection to shape his future. But instead, he decided to work in silence. He practiced, he studied, he pushed himself. Years later, that same boy became an author whose books inspired millions around the world. He did not write those books out of revenge. He wrote them out of purpose. But his progress became the loudest response to all the voices that once declared he would never succeed. Anger may burn fast, but it burns out quickly. It consumes you more than it consumes your enemy. Progress, on the other hand, lasts. It speaks for generations. It turns your pain into power. It turns your setback into a platform. And it turns your opposition into motivation. That is why the best revenge is not to shout back, but to build up. It is not to strike back, but to step forward. Think for a moment about the great leaders and innovators in history. Many of them were told they could not, that they should not, that they would never. Yet they did not waste their energy trying to prove critics wrong with their words. They poured their energy into their vision, their craft, their discipline. And when they rose, when they achieved, when they transformed the world, those same critics became their admirers. That is what progress does. It silences doubt without ever raising your voice. Some of you listening right now have been carrying wounds because of what people said about you. They said you weren't smart enough, you weren't gifted enough, you weren't worthy enough. And maybe you've been tempted to fight back, to show them with anger, to live your life proving them wrong. But hear me carefully, if your entire life is about proving them wrong, you are still living under their control. Your life is not meant to be lived in reaction to others. It is meant to be lived in alignment with your destiny. The greatest answer is not in fighting them. It is in becoming everything God created you to be. When you rise, when you succeed, when you progress, you don't just prove them wrong. You show what is possible. You become a testimony of resilience, a picture of perseverance, a voice of hope for someone else who is fighting their own battles. Your progress does not just speak to your enemies, it speaks to the world. The truth is, life will always give you critics. The higher you climb, the more resistance you will face. But you must make a decision. Will you spend your strength arguing with people who don't believe in you? Or will you spend your strength building the life you were called to live? Every ounce of energy wasted in anger is energy stolen from progress. And progress is where the real victory lies. So the next time someone underestimates you, don't waste your breath. Don't waste your tears on proving them wrong. Instead, keep building, keep growing, keep moving forward. Because while anger shouts for a moment, progress echoes for a lifetime. Every extraordinary story you have ever heard began with someone ordinary. Every hero, every leader, every innovator, every history maker, you would not have noticed them at the beginning. They were not born with crowns on their heads. They did not arrive in the world with applause and recognition. They started just like you, just like me, ordinary. But somewhere along the way, they made a decision to persevere when others quit, to discipline themselves when others became careless, to carry vision when others only carried excuses. And that decision turned ordinary people into extraordinary legacies. Perseverance is the ability to stand when everything around you is shouting for you to sit down. It is the strength to continue when doors close in your face, when opportunities slip through your hands, when the road gets longer and harder than you expected. Many people start strong, but only a few endure. And it is endurance, not mere enthusiasm, that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. I remember hearing the story of a young man who grew up in poverty. He often went to bed hungry, walked miles to school barefoot, and studied under a street lamp because his home had no electricity. Everyone around him assumed his future was already decided. But this young man carried something powerful within him: perseverance. He studied harder than anyone else. He disciplined himself to wake before dawn, to read, to practice, to prepare. And most importantly, he carried a vision greater than his current circumstances. Today, that young man is a leader in his nation, known across the world for his wisdom and influence. What transformed him? Not wealth, not luck, but perseverance, discipline, and vision. Discipline is the secret ingredient that many overlook. Ordinary people remain ordinary when they allow feelings to dictate their lives. Extraordinary people rise when they choose discipline over comfort. Discipline says, I will do what is necessary, not what is easy. Discipline says, I will keep my focus even when distractions surround me. Discipline says, I will build habits today that will serve my tomorrow. Without discipline, talent is wasted. Without discipline, dreams die. But with discipline, even small beginnings can grow into mighty legacies. Vision is what gives meaning to perseverance and discipline. Vision is the picture of a future that is not yet visible, but already alive in your heart. Vision is what allows you to endure hardship, because you see something greater than the struggle. Vision is what pushes you to sacrifice pleasure today for fulfillment tomorrow. Vision is what transforms an ordinary worker into an extraordinary leader, because he sees beyond his job and into his destiny. Every great inventor, every great reformer, every great leader began with vision. They saw a world that could be different, a life that could be better, a path that could be higher. And because they saw it, they lived for it. Ordinary eyes saw obstacles, but vision saw opportunity. Ordinary minds saw impossibility, but vision whispered, it can be done. Now I want you to think about yourself. Perhaps you look at your life and see nothing extraordinary. Perhaps you compare yourself to others and feel small, unseen, overlooked. But hear me clearly, greatness is not in where you start. Greatness is in how you persevere. Greatness is not in what you have now. Greatness is in what you discipline yourself to build. Greatness is not in what the world sees today. Greatness is in the vision you carry for tomorrow. The world is filled with people who had potential but no perseverance, people who had talent but no discipline, people who had opportunities but no vision. And yet the extraordinary are those who may not have had potential or talent or opportunity, but they had perseverance, discipline, and vision. And with those three things, they built a future that shook the world. You do not need to be born extraordinary. You do not need a special title, a wealthy background, or a famous name. You only need the courage to keep going when it's hard, the discipline to stay consistent when no one is watching, and the vision to see what others cannot see. That is how ordinary people become extraordinary. One of the greatest mistakes you can make in life is to live it as a response to others. Too many people spend their days trying to prove something to those who doubted them, trying to silence critics, trying to answer every voice that ever said, you can't. But hear me today, your life is too valuable to be wasted on proving people wrong. Your time, your energy, your talent, these are gifts far too precious to be poured into the shallow wells of approval. You were not created to live in reaction to others. You were created to live in pursuit of your purpose. The truth is, people will always talk. They will doubt you. They will criticize you. They will underestimate you. And if you spend your life trying to answer them, you will never move forward. You will run in circles, exhausted, drained, distracted. That is why you must make a conscious choice to take your eyes off your critics and fix your eyes on your calling. Because when you invest in becoming the best version of yourself, you do not need to prove anyone wrong. Your life will speak for you. I remember a young woman who wanted to be a doctor. Her teachers told her she wasn't smart enough. Her classmates laughed when she failed an exam. Even her own family told her to choose something easier. She could have made her entire journey about proving them wrong. She could have carried resentment, anger, bitterness. But instead, she shifted her focus. She decided she was not studying to prove anyone wrong. She was studying to prove herself right, to honor the vision she carried in her heart. She worked in silence, disciplined herself, and poured her energy into growth. Years later, she became a doctor, not because she lived for their approval, but because she invested in her purpose. And when she stood with her degree in her hand, she realized something powerful. She no longer cared about proving anyone wrong, because she had proven to herself who she truly was. You see, when your focus is proving others wrong, they still control you. They set the standard, they decide your direction. But when your focus is becoming your best self, you are free, you rise above their voices. You take ownership of your journey. You discover strength you didn't know you had, gifts you didn't know were within you, and possibilities you never imagined were waiting for you. The best version of yourself is not found in comparison with others. It is found in competition with yesterday's version of you. It is found when you wake up and say, I will be wiser than I was yesterday. I will be stronger than I was yesterday. I will be more disciplined than I was yesterday. It is a daily investment, a daily choice, a daily journey. And let me remind you, greatness is not built overnight. It is built in the quiet hours of preparation, in the unseen discipline, in the sacrifices no one applauds. That is why you cannot afford to waste time proving people wrong. Their applause will fade. Their opinion will change. But your growth, your progress, your transformation, that will remain. Do not let the noise of others drown out the voice of your destiny. You were not born to be a prisoner of their doubts. You were born to be a steward of your potential. And potential does not flourish when it is chasing after critics. Potential flourishes when it is nurtured, developed, and focused on purpose. I want you to imagine a tree. A tree does not grow tall because it is trying to prove wrong the weeds around it. A tree grows tall because it is responding to the light above it. In the same way, you do not grow by looking sideways at those who criticize you. You grow by looking upward, by fixing your eyes on your vision, by investing your energy into your calling. So stop wasting energy on battles that do not build you. Stop trying to impress people who may never celebrate you. Stop chasing after the validation of those who were never meant to define you. And instead, pour yourself into the journey of becoming the best version of who you are created to be. The future is not promised to those who live in bitterness. It does not belong to those who cling to anger, resentment, and regret. Bitterness is like a weight. It keeps you stuck in the past, chained to moments that are gone, imprisoned by words that were spoken, and wounded by things that can no longer be changed. But hear me today, the future belongs to those who choose better. It belongs to those who rise above the pain, those who refuse to let offense poison their destiny, those who invest in growth instead of grievance. The future does not reward bitterness, it rewards better. Bitter people replay the past, but better people rebuild the future. Bitter people keep counting what was lost, but better people start multiplying what remains. Bitter people waste their energy complaining about what happened, but better people use their energy to create what can happen. That is why the future belongs to the better. Because while bitterness traps you in yesterday, improvement carries you into tomorrow. I once met a man who had been betrayed by his business partners. They stole everything from him, left him bankrupt, humiliated, and broken. For years he carried bitterness, telling anyone who would listen how unfair life was. He wanted justice, he wanted revenge, but nothing in his life changed. He grew older, angrier, and emptier. Then one day he realized something profound. Bitterness had taken more from him than his enemies ever did. They had stolen his money, but bitterness had stolen his time, his joy, his future. At that moment, he made a choice. He decided to stop being bitter, and he chose to get better. He began again humbly, with nothing but determination and faith. Over time, he built a new business, stronger, wiser, greater than before. And when I asked him what changed, he said these words, "I stopped fighting them, and I started fighting for me. My improvement became my victory." You see, you cannot hold bitterness in one hand and reach for the future with the other. One will always slip away. If you want the future, you must let go of bitterness. You must choose better, because every time you forgive, you get lighter. Every time you grow, you get stronger. Every time you improve, you step closer to the future that is waiting for you. The future belongs to the better, because the better know how to turn pain into purpose. They know how to turn wounds into wisdom. They know how to turn loss into lessons. They know that nothing in life is wasted if it is used to improve. Even failure becomes a seed for growth when it is placed in the soil of perseverance. Even rejection becomes direction when it is met with vision. And even disappointment becomes an appointment when it pushes you toward your destiny. Do not confuse bitterness with strength. Bitter people may look tough, but inside they are fragile. Better people may look ordinary, but inside they are unshakable. The difference is not in what they went through. It is in how they responded. Bitterness says, I will never forgive. Better says, I will grow from this. Bitterness says, my life is over. Better says, my best is still ahead. Bitterness looks backward. Better look forward. And make no mistake, your improvement is your victory. You don't have to fight your enemies on their level. You don't have to argue, to prove, to justify. All you have to do is improve. When you rise, when you grow, when you become better, your life speaks louder than any defense you could ever give. Your progress becomes undeniable. Your transformation becomes the answer. Your improvement becomes a victory. There are people who expect you to remain bitter. They expect you to stay broken, to stay small, to stay defeated. But the greatest shock you can give them is not to fight them. It is to improve yourself. It is to rise higher than they ever imagined, to become stronger than they ever believed, to achieve more than they ever thought possible. And when you do, you will see with your own eyes the future does not belong to the bitter. The future belongs to the better. If there is one truth I want you to carry from these words, it is this: life will not always be fair, but it will always give you choices. Pain will come, but pain can make you bitter, or it can make you better. Doubt and criticism will surround you, but the best revenge is not anger, it is progress. You may look at yourself and see nothing extraordinary, but remember, ordinary people become extraordinary when they persevere, when they discipline themselves, when they carry vision greater than their circumstances. Do not waste your strength chasing after the approval of those who doubted you. Do not waste your time proving people wrong. Instead, invest every ounce of your energy into becoming the best version of who you were created to be. Because the future does not belong to those who are stuck in resentment. It belongs to those who rise in resilience. The future is not for the bitter, it is for the better. And your improvement, step by step, day by day, will always be your greatest victory.